Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Elitist Geek VR news for Wednesday, November 16th, 2016, in what is turning out to be a rather kick-ass day for virtual reality news. We'll jump into that in a few minutes. Let's start with some VR preamble, namely Percussive VR. Now, Percussive VR is an application currently in early access for the HTC Vive, selling for $10.99 US, and features three mighty instruments: the powerful marimba, the mighty steel pan, or the omnipotent glockenspiel. So one of those instruments or more could be an instrument you master right at your fingertips with the Vive controllers. Future updates probably going to add additional exciting instruments to this application. And if it doesn't sound like I'm taking it seriously, I admit I'm having a little bit of a go. But in all seriousness, guys, if those instruments do interest you, the idea behind this application is for you to learn how to play them. And there will be future updates that add other instruments according to the devs. All right, next up, Fantastic Contraption adds some additions, and the first addition is resizable levels. Now, they're calling this the Kaiju update, and that's kind of in the spirit of Godzilla movies, with the oversized giants, etc., because that's kind of what you will feel like once you resize the level. The world gets smaller, you get bigger in it. This is an update for those of you with precious little floor space that want to be able to enjoy the application. It also has a seated mode in it, so you can play it sitting down. That's Fantastic Contraption. So, guys, let's jump into news. This one absolutely blew my mind when I heard about it. I mean, instantly. I'm a geography geek, a history geek. I've talked about so much of that here on this channel. Combine all of that and tell me now you can use Google Earth with an HMD, and you've pretty much blown my mind right there. And that's exactly what Google did today. They announced Google Earth VR, something they'd been working on for close to 4 years now. What started out as just a pet project for a Google employee who was using the 20% time that Google employees have allotted to work on fun projects or hobby projects. Dominic Kaiser, he's the project engineering lead for this, realized about 4 years ago that they had a fantastic opportunity, without even realizing it, to mix the 360-degree stuff they were capturing into virtual reality, i.e. use HMDs to be able to allow you to view that. So for me and a lot of other people, this came as a complete surprise, a very happy surprise today. I've only tried this out for a few minutes, guys, and it blew my frickin' mind. Now, I know I sound like I'm hyping it, and there are times where I get on here and I say, look, until I get some specs and try it, I'm going to reserve my excitement. Well, this is something I've tried, and it is frickin' awesome. I even tweeted earlier, and again, I know it sounds a little over the top, but I stand by it. That's how strongly I feel about this application. I said, this is a killer app. Not a killer game, but a game changer. And I mean that. Like this, you got to try it. And in fact, I'm going to do a quick look for this specifically as soon as I'm finished the news video and put it up there. Just a quick snapshot of what you can do, just a summary so you get the idea. You start out in space with Earth literally right there in a feeling kind of, and there's other games that have done that exact angle. The Solace Project does something similar. There's a space one, I can't remember what it's called, also starts you above planet Earth. They don't feel near as powerful, as immersive as it did in Google Earth VR. And then being able to swoop into pretty much any corner of the planet. I mean, the stats for what's included here is just mind-blowing. 54% of the planet's surface is captured here in pretty damn good detail. You can swoop in from space, you know, into a place like Manhattan, for example. Fly in like Superman. That's kind of what it feels like. And they've even put in little touches. So if you're somebody who has motion sickness, you know, the field of view is limited while you're traveling around, so you don't get that full-on effect. But for those of us who don't get that, you can disable it completely. So really just mind-blowing, guys. And I was able to literally go into the Netherlands, go to the school I went to, the, you know, streets that I lived on, as if I was there. And the only feature that I wish this had that would just make it completely mind-blowing to me, like even another level up, would be if they included historical data. So like, say you could dial it back 5 years, 6 years. Now, granted, things don't change as much in some countries. I know, you know, in Europe, there's places in Holland that I can go to that look identical to how they looked in the 80s when I was living there and going to school. Or, you know, go to North America, say, and stuff changes almost every year because we build with wood here on the West Coast. Houses get torn down frequently and neighborhoods change their look almost by the decade. So to be able to go back on streets that I grew up on and check them out would be just, like I said, even more amazing. But with all of that said, if you have an HTC Vive, guys, and no word yet other than they're looking into the possibility of putting it onto the Rift or other other HMDs like the PlayStation VR. Right now, it is exclusive, unfortunately, just to the HTC Vive, which I'm never happy about, but because I do also have an HTC Vive, I'm personally happy. I just don't like the fact that some of you won't be able to enjoy this. So hopefully you can check out the quick look when I do that later and at least get an idea of what it offers you. All right, guys, I will calm down the nerd factor a little bit, dial it back. Let's talk about HTC and their partnership with AutoDesk to bring professional design into VR. Now, there was an event, the 2016 Autodesk University event, which kicked off yesterday in Las Vegas. And in the keynote, the discussion was all about that partnership. Now, Forge, I've talked about Forge here before. That's the company's cloud-based developer platform. That's going to be coming to HTC Vive via the Viveport platform, which I've also talked about. That's the distribution channel for, you know, non-VR games, the productivity applications, etc. And what they're hoping is that they can build the dominant platform for VR product design, architecture, etc. So there's no firm release date, but the pricing model kind of hints at $500 a month with a free 12-month trial period and limited cloud storage. So, you know, if it's what they say it is, and I've probably put up some pictures here that you're looking at, very impressive potential. Can't wait to see what this is about. Next news piece, Steam VR officially finally to their non-beta version adds asynchronous reprojection. Now, according to viewers here on the channel that I've spoken to, the improvements aren't as good as the asynchronous improvements on the Rift. Not to say they're not good, they just seem to be more beneficial. A race game, for example, can't remember which one exactly, was said by one viewer to be faster, smoother on the Rift than it was on the Vive. Now, all of that could be subject to change. We could be an update away from, you know, things being on a more level playing field. But as things stand right now, the hearsay, and that's all it is until I can personally substantiate it for myself, the asynchronous solution on the Rift is a little stronger at the moment. But I'm confident the Vive side of the equation will catch up. And yeah, so like I mentioned, that was in beta since the 25th of October, now has gone into the full non-beta version. Now, this one is a little bit of a piss-off, schlock-worthy, which we shall do, and then we shall speak of these things. The Game Awards. Now, I've always had kind of mixed feelings about the Game Awards. I've seen some decent stuff come out of that, and then just a lot of WTF, like, what the hell are you guys thinking? And this latest one is in the latter camp, okay? In the WTF. Namely, their nominees for Best VR Games of 2016. And the reason is they are freaking completely PlayStation VR centric. I don't know what the qualifiers are to become a nominee on their list, if it's purely sales based or what. And, you know, judging by the fact that even Sony keeps this stuff, you know, tucked close to the chest, really accurate sales figures are only going to be speculative, right? So I don't think it's based on that. So what's the reason for not including HTC Vive or Rift titles? Completely locking the PC out of the equation. Can you honestly call the award Best VR Game of the Year if it wins? I would say no. I would say a more apt award would be Best PlayStation VR Game of 2016, because that's freaking what you're doing if you do that, right? Let's talk about the nominees. We've got Batman Arkham VR, Eve Valkyrie, Job Simulator, Res Infinite, and Thumper. Anyone who's watched my videos knows pretty much all those games I've enjoyed. Some really enjoyed. Res Infinite, Thumper, parts of Batman I loved. Eve Valkyrie, Job Simulator was a fun launch title. But is that the best that Sony has to offer, let alone all of VR? Hell no. So personally, I can't get behind, especially, look, if they came out and said that, even if they didn't call it that, it'd be more palatable. But here's their exact quotation for this award. The Game Awards is all about celebrating the state of video game art. In just a few short weeks, we will recognize the most outstanding games of 2016 in unexpected ways and preview the most anticipated games of 2017 and beyond with the longest, most in-depth world premieres we've ever attempted, including surprises and new game announcements. So, sounds pretty general to me, but how can you take an award serious if the nominees, you know, aren't coming from an equally represented playing field? And my opinion is you can't. And if you've got other thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Let me know in the comments below. That was my initial from the hip reaction. Subject to change, but I don't think so, unless we get a damn good reason on why PC was frozen out for VR. All right. Overclockers UK, and I thought this was kind of a fun news piece. They want to know if your VR racing skills translate to real life. Now, they've got in an area, and the details are in the contest, where they have their actual hardware VR racing rig. I'm going to include that in the description below if you want to check it out. I probably got a screenshot up right now. This thing is amazing. If I could put one of these in the man cave, that would be... it would be awesome. Let's just put it that way. So the idea is you book your time, you sit in the machine, and you give it your best shot and try to get your best time for the race. So there's like Thrustmaster parts represented, Overclocker's own custom VR, Noble Chair seating. So there's lots of kind of brand names that have helped, you know, pull this rig together. So what they're going to be doing is you earn your top times, and then you're going to be able to participate in one of 3 quarterly qualifiers. So October to December 2016, January to March 2017, and April to June 2017. Then what happens is you get into a final situation. So the best driver of each quarter moves on to the finals, which takes place sometime later in 2017 to determine ultimately who is the champion. And for that, you get to drive a real race car in real life, and you win a gold medal. No monetary awards, but I'm sure it's, you know, just one of those things that you can kind of, you know, point to and say, look what I did, right? But I like the concept, just to be able to get people out there and do virtual reality competitive racing. Sounds like fun. Next news item, Oculus is sending out additional free Oculus Touch development kits ahead of the December 6th launch. And I've seen mixed reactions to this. You would think anytime you buy or you get free is good. The complaints, and this is from quite a few devs, the common one is that, look, they had just put in for a pre-order. Had they known that there was an opportunity, however slim, they probably would have held off a little bit. And, that's their prerogative. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other on that. But I am excited for the Touch in general. I can't wait till December and hopefully can secure myself one. All right, next and last news item. The assembly developer nDreams has raised $2.5 million in one of 2 rounds of funding. They say this is going to go towards future VR development. They've also said that they believe they're going to break even this year, and they've had 4 VR titles this year. So that's good news. If there was a fear that, okay, the Rift, the Vive, didn't quite sell enough copies, etc., breaking even is not a bad thing. And then having additional funding like this, that's similar to the kind of funding that Kickstarter games like Wasteland 2 get, and definitely will allow them to do additional VR development. All right, guys, that is it for the news. I can't wait to try Google Earth VR. As always, cheers, and definitely, guys, catch you on the VR flip side.